All right, and here we are. We're back for another Got Hockey. Today is episode lucky number 13, and I've got Michael Bowman. He's my sales rep from CCM, and we're going to talk about a few things. There's some interesting stick launches coming up, and we've got a particularly interesting helmet that I know a lot of people are interested to hear a little bit more about, and we're going to walk through a little bit about that. So welcome to the show, Mike. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I'm doing very well. It's a fun time of year. We're starting to get into, what we call booking season, which means that we're starting to look at, all the next year's gear and how our retail accounts bring those in. Basically 6 or 8 months in advance, all that stuff is ordered. So we're starting to get into that time of year. So starting to get into the fun part of it here.
Yeah, exactly. We've got hopefully the big Source Hockey show that I'll be seeing
Yep.
you and taking a look at some of the newer stuff. I notice you're sporting a bit of a shiner. What'd you do, buddy?
Yeah, so picked that up on Saturday afternoon, playing rugby. So yeah, I'm a rugby guy as well, and didn't even notice during the game. Came off at halftime, and a couple of guys went, "Oh my God, what happened to your eye?" And I said, "Oh my God, what happened to my eye?" Like I didn't even know what happened. I thought my eyeballs was hanging out or something, and they
Those are the
saw
best ones.
you picked up a black eye. Oh, okay, whatever, black eye.
There you go. There you
But
go.
it looked tough. It's good.
Yeah. So growing up a bit of an athlete as well. Where'd you grow up and how'd you find yourself into the game?
Yeah, absolutely. So grew up in Montreal, sort of suburban Montreal. Obviously hockey is an important part of the culture and being,
Absolutely.
a youth in Montreal, whether it's, playing outside on the streets, in someone's driveway, outdoor rinks, playing, a minor hockey, like it's just something part of, gym class hockey, who's the best at gym class hockey, Curtis Killen was the best guy in hockey, right?
Shout
Like,
out
and
to
this guy was a
Curtis.
god, you know. But yeah, I grew up playing, basically every sport imaginable. Right through high school. Never really played anything, high end with hockey wise, but I was sort of the kid that kind of, did everything and didn't really do anything great. Never really played,
The jack of all sports, if you will.
something like that. Yeah. As for how I sort of found myself in the industry, like a lot of guys worked retail all through sort of my teenage years and into my university years and stuff. After university was department manager for a store in a sporting goods store in Montreal. Did that for a couple of years, learned a lot. And then kind of through a weird twist of fate, had the opportunity to get into customer service at CCM, which was great. Taught me a ton about the back end of the industry. It was awesome. Like, all those phone calls where like, guy breaks his stick at 42 days and Just Hockey says, "I can't do anything for you, call CCM." Right. Like I took all those phone calls for like 2.5 years. Right. So that was a fun time. And, I'm sure some of your listeners have maybe spoken to me on the phone and didn't realize it. And I'm sorry, I guess, that we couldn't warranty your stick.
42 is a bit of an ask.
Yeah. I mean, we tried to help people out as much as we could, like we tried to be kind of reasonable about it, understanding that, we're consumers too, and that we want to, stand
Yeah,
behind,
for sure.
you know. So that was good. But I mean, customer service, as far as being in the sporting goods industry, was a great experience for me. I loved it. I learned so much. You touch on so many different facets. You get to know who's who in the company, from, marketing and sales and the distribution center, the sales reps. You're really the hub of all kinds of different elements. And, I learned a ton.
And you
Um,
did such a great job. They moved you to Ontario.
Correct. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So I knew when I started with the company that I wanted to get back out into the field. Customer service was an amazing experience for me, but the field is really where I felt comfortable. Like I said, having that retail background where you're constantly moving a million miles an hour. There's always something to do. There's always someone to talk to. And then moving into an office setting felt very weird for me, right? So I knew I wanted to get back out into the field. The opportunity to do so was in Ontario, was sort of Toronto based, jumped at the opportunity because that's really what I wanted to do. It's a 4 or 5 hour drive from, Montreal. So, I mean, ultimately, it's not like I'm moving to the other side of the world, and sure, I've got, all my family and a lot of friends and stuff still in Montreal, but, you kind of make it work. And that was 2017 when I moved, and haven't looked back. So then, that was sort of in what we call a FAST team, which is a field activation and service team. That role, so kind of akin to like a field marketing where you do lots of events, lots of product knowledge sessions, that kind of thing. Got to drive the cool CCM, the red CCM vehicle, which and then there was a sales rep, about, I guess, 18 months ago, a little over 18 months ago, that moved on to, I guess, greener pastures. Well-liked guy, experienced guy who wanted to make a sort of a career change for himself. And I was the next guy on the depth chart. So yeah, that's
so you got the call, kid.
So I got, like really, and that's how it kind of felt, right? Like it really felt like I was getting the call to the big leagues. And I still count myself, as very lucky, realistically. I spent a lot of time still in retail stores and stuff, and talked to a lot of guys who are in university or of sort of that age where they kind of, they're trying to find their way for a career path and stuff. And I get asked a lot, like, how do I end up where you are? And I guess I don't ever take it for granted how lucky I am to kind of do what I do. And there's good days and bad days, just like any job, but I love what I do and I'm really grateful. So yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just before we hit the record button, I said, I've always sort of appreciated, even from when you started, as what we could probably classify as a bit of a tech rep.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would come around and you would show some of the new stuff as we were receiving it. And I know that I always appreciated being able to get a couple of the little extra details. And you always were able to get that across to me, to the other sales staff as well.
Sure.
And it was just that little bit of an extra help. And I think now that you are, full-time, full service sales rep, I think probably all those experiences quite clearly have helped you along the way to be as good at it as you are. So that's, certainly certainly a plus.
I appreciate that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, buddy, I appreciate you. Let me tell you. So we have a couple of exciting things going on right now. We just launched, or just previously, a little bit ago, we just launched Ft4 Pro in the stick world for CCM. Can we just get a little bit of a rundown, the basics on that stick, and maybe if there's any of the keys of the new technology that went into it?
Totally. So JetSpeed, I think, and you can probably agree with this, I think, Dana, JetSpeed very quickly kind of made a name for itself, right? Like it kind of replaced the RBZ line, which, I think was showing its age, definitely. And then very quickly, became a go-to stick for a lot of people. We wanted to really sort of optimize in the sort of subsequent generations, optimize the performance and durability of sort of that hosel area. Really was something from an engineering standpoint that we needed to really kind of dial in. So sort of changing a bit of the material layup there to really make sure that we're optimizing that for performance and durability. And I mean, I'm not an engineer, very clearly, but some of the changes that we can make are so seemingly so small, changing the direction of some of the layers of the carbon fiber wrap and stuff, like something that me and you, maybe with, I'll speak for myself, no engineering background.
I've never driven a train either.
Yeah. So something that, would seem small and potentially so, I don't know, not to say inconsequential, but
something you might not notice.
Something that I certainly might not have noticed makes such a significant impact, right? So small little changes like that. Weight is absolutely the name of the game right now. So bring that in sub 400 grams into, I guess, what I would call sort of a competitive space for weight there as well. There used to be sort of this plateau of weight that we would be at for a high-end stick that was around 420, 425 grams. And that was realistically as low as we could get it, anyone across all brands, realistically, as low as we could get it without really sacrificing durability or
without compromising the stick itself.
Compromising anything. Yeah, exactly. Whereas now, with the materials we're using, with the technology we're using, Sigmatex, for example, we're really able to sort of, shed those grams a little bit and really sort of bring down that weight by, 40, 45 grams or so. I refer to Sigmatex, and again, small little details, right? Essentially is a material that allows us to kind of get the weave of the carbon fiber layers tighter together. And essentially what that brings to a stick, any bubbles that happen in between the layers of carbon fiber, any air bubbles or resin pockets are weak points, potential weak points in the stick.
Right.
So being able to get that weave closer together and flatter without, kind of having to get this kind of effect where there's tons of gaps kind of in between my fingers, getting them as flat as possible, is going to make a stick that's more durable, better performing, and lighter weight as well, because you're squeezing out all that excess resin and stuff, right?
So if I get you right, essentially it'll take away if any of the imperfections that might make like a lesser performing stick or a less durable stick, like a stick that's going to have that weak point. So the Sigmatex allows it to sort of just really dial in all the materials, really get everything in there. So it's the consistency is what we're looking for.
Perfect word. Yeah, that consistency. And Sigmatex, I mean, they're a third-party company, right? They work in aerospace, they work in the marine industry, they work in I believe they're in F1, like automotive, like high sports cars and stuff. So they're a third-party company that we license. We have the exclusive use in the hockey space for that technology. And I think that's really been a outstanding partnership. We brought it into all of our high-end sticks across all three families: Tax, Jet Speed, Ribcore. And I think it's been a really solid material for us for the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, the stick's done well so far. I get calls every day for them. It's almost tricky to keep patterns and keep flexes in stock. And it's done well. And I think that line's always been a decent performer anyway. We do have one more stick. I believe that's coming out towards the end of this month. We have a new tack on the way.
Exactly right. Yeah. So really the tax line, we were talking about sticks before, sort of gone through their heyday and then maybe sort of come off the map a little bit. Tax, I think, is maybe one of those sticks that's maybe losing its way a little bit at retail. And I think that's a little bit unfair, to be honest. Okay. The tax stick is sort of misunderstood as the like power stick, that if you, taking the big one-timer from the point, the big Shea Weber one-timer from the point, as a cliche, that's the stick you want to use. And certainly you can, certainly that's not wrong at all. What I would say is that there's also other ways you can use the tax stick to really also get a lot out of it, right? For example, like I know a lot of, anyone who watches Hockey Night in Canada has heard about the Austin Matthews shot, right? The hands out, like the quick release. And that's the way that basically anyone under the age of 20 now, that's the shot they learned.
That's it. Yeah.
That's how they're learning to shoot. And that said, if you're still taking a wrist shot and maybe your technique, maybe you're a younger guy, or girl for that matter, and your wrist shot technique is still sort of that more full motion load from behind your heels and pull through that I would have learned growing up, and certainly, probably over the age of, we'll say 20 or so, would have learned growing up. That stick where you're really taking a little bit longer to load your shot, whether it's a wrist shot, slap shot, snap shot, whatever, just a split second longer to load the shot, that mid kick of the tax profile is really going to suit your game better than maybe one of the other ones, right? Again, I think a little bit harshly treated, I think, the tax.
Well, I think the fact that is sort of that mid flex, that mid kick, probably allows the stick a certain amount of versatility.
Very much so. The mid kick is definitely the more traditional feeling, we'll say, of the three, right? Like basically if you were to rewind, I don't know, 25 years and pull a wood stick off the rack, the wood stick would compare sort of by no design of its own, would compare mostly to a mid kick stick, right? So definitely the more sort of traditional, like you said, definitely very versatile, and a stick that can provide that power for the right shooter from anywhere, whether it's a quick wrist shot or obviously the one-timer from the point kind of thing.
Yeah. And then there's the third line, of course. It's the low kick stick. It's kind of my favorite, I guess. I don't even really know why, but when I use them, I tend to just like them. And being a goalie most of the time, I don't know if that helps or hurts me, but there's also Ribcore.
Yeah.
And we've already seen some of the secondary price points, but we do
Correct.
have coming up very soon as well. We do have in the higher end, we do have a new rib core on the way.
Correct. Exactly right, Dennis. So, you know, I joke when I'm at retail, right? Like if there's a consumer looking for a rib core and I'm kind of helping out the sales staff or maybe answering questions or whatever, I'll you know, very often make always the same joke invariably because I'm a one trick pony, but I joke that they come with a 50 goal guarantee.
There you go.
So, yeah, we were at the show a couple of years ago now. I guess this would have been the Source show of 2019, and we're getting to try out sticks, and it was the Jet Speed and Tax and Ribcore. And I tried out the Jet Speed, loved it, right? Thought, oh my God, this is the greatest stick I've ever used. Put the Jet Speed back on the rack, pulled off a Ribcore, and then immediately thought I was wrong that this Ribcore was the best.
Now this one's the best.
This one's the best, 30 seconds later, So, yeah, I definitely think that the Ribcore has made a name for itself over the last couple of years. That low kick very closely matches sort of that new Austin Matthews shot that we were just talking about, very closely matches the sort of what would be needed for that kind of shot, the stiffness profile.
That quick shot or like the 1 footer, sort of like you're exactly a right shot, you're shooting off the right.
Exactly right. And again, everyone talks about kick point, and that's very much sort of what is sort of the big headline of each sort of stick. Not just for us, not just for CCM, but for all brands.
Correct.
That's the one thing that if you need to know one thing, that's what you need to know, right? But also small little details like stiffness at the top of the shaft, where we noticed that the best NHL shooters, not only are they loading from their bottom hand when they push down, but they're actually pulling back from the top hand as well for a wrist shot, let's say. So being able to achieve that crossbow effect to load from both ends of the stick. The blade stiffness as well, where we're allowing it to torque just ever so slightly. So not only are you loading the shaft as well, but you're loading the blade too. So you're getting a little bit of pop back from the blade as well, because your blade is likely up kind of on its toe, and like the blade is kind of flexing and giving you just a little bit more. So small little details that have really been optimized to help achieve that quick release. And again, that low kick profile is the go-to there, but little details that, we've really dialed in to get those sticks to where they are now. And like we said, very successful.
Yeah, I think, and maybe I guess for you, starting when you did was a little bit of the changeover for what I think is a lot of the real positive things that I've noticed from CCM. I would say around 2015, and that was pre Adidas selling CCM.
Correct. Yep.
But basically that was Adidas moving all hockey products to the CCM name. And I haven't spoken specifically to the people who make the decision one way or the other, but I think there was a definite change in philosophy about skates, about protective, about, I think really just about everything in the line. And I don't think anyone's had as much growth, in that amount of time, because that was when the skates that came out during that time, for example, we had some of the previous CCMs and some of the Reeboks where the fits just weren't good for in a lot of the lines, and
100%.
You had to get a specific type of foot. And now what they've done building into what's now become the CCM rib core, become the new tack, which was a name that was missing for a very long time. And then also Jet Speed, which is RBZ before that. They've really dialed in the types of things that they need to do to allow me to get feet into the skates, just as the one example, and really allow customers to really to fully get into the products. And I don't think anyone's really been able to do that to the degree that CCM has.
It's been a huge sea change, like when I started in the company in 2014, we were talking about, the first generation of ribcore skate, replacing, sort of taking over from the 20K.
The K, right? All the K skates.
All the Ks, right? And we're still in the Ks. And
that's right.
K, right? We're still in the Ks. But anyway, so the first Reebok ribcore replacing the 20K skate. We're talking about the RBZ skate. We're talking about the first generation Tax, Tax skate in 2014, which like you said, it took for a lot of those skates, it took a very particular foot to fit those skates. And then, from 2014 to 2015, we go from, let's say, RBZ, which, like, call a spade, it fit very wide.
Yeah. It was a big volume. It was a good skate, but it was a big volume skate. And it
took the right foot.
Yeah, definitely.
For you as a retail guy, it took the right foot to walk through that front door, just luckily.
If you had a foot like a chunky soup can, I knew what skate I was putting you in.
You knew what skate, right? So that was 2014. And then 2015, we come with the first generation jet speed.
And it was
right away. And as a brand, and I think we were very nervous that, it's one black and red skate replaced by another black and red skate. This is just RBZ 2.0. And it wasn't, right? Really, so we tried to put out all kinds of graphics and all kinds of marketing material that showed the difference in heel width, one like this and one way more tapered and way more anatomically shaped, 4-foot width. We tried to put out all kinds of material to convince buyers, to convince sales staff, to convince consumers that this wasn't just the second coming of RBZ. This was a whole new skate that deserved to be treated as such,
Right.
And I think it did okay. I think, look, it was the first sort of serious hockey fit for a skate that we had in a long time.
Yeah.
Right? So for the challenge that presented, I think it did well enough. And now, fast forward, 5-6 years past that, we're at a stage where we're really competitive as far as fit goes. We're really competitive as far as performance goes. Really what's holding us back now is brand loyalty and getting as many people into those new skates as possible. So,
converting everybody, and for a lot of them, converting a lot of the people who went away from CCM, almost totally. Bringing them back, but also attracting some of the new, some of the new customers as well.
Totally.
And so one thing that you guys do really well that I've enjoyed doing is the new customized skates that we've been doing for the last couple of years. We do essentially a 3D rendering of a foot for a customer. You guys go ahead and basically 3D print that foot and more or less build a skate around it. Do you want to talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah, so absolutely. So without giving away too much of the secret sauce, I mean, you pretty much nailed it on the head, in that, we're able to, using a 3D scanner, take a really, really like millimeter precise scan of somebody's, right? Like, I don't know. I use this example all the time where, I don't know if you ever had like, socks, like just regular cotton athletic sock that fits your foot really tight. And when you take your sock off at the end of the day, it's got like, the Under Armour logo imprinted in your foot.
Sure.
Logo imprinted in your foot. I've seen that come up on the scan, that someone's got the Under Armour logo imprinted in their foot from the sock that they were wearing, and it shows up on the scan. So, I mean, we're talking about like millimeter precision here. We take that laser scan of the foot, send that to the factory along with all the spec choices, and then basically take a unfinished one-piece boot, and using way more heat that you can generate in store, way more pressure than you can generate in store, totally shape that one-piece boot around that foot mold that we created. And that allows us to get a precision fit that is, totally unique in the industry. I think a really, really strong custom offering for anyone that wants to sort of go down that road.
Yeah, I've had great success with it. Not everybody is going to walk in and just say, "Oh yeah, I want the top skate. I want to spend over $1,000 skates, and by the way, tack another couple hundred on for custom." But for the people that do, they do enjoy them. And if someone comes in that has, some problems with their foot, or they have a couple of areas that just don't allow them to get into many skates comfortably, it's an excellent option, and it sort of takes down a barrier. To be perfectly honest, for some people, even just being able to get on the ice, whether it be just skating or playing hockey in general. So it's changed the game up a little bit in those terms. And I think it's something that, you guys as a company are excelling at. So that's, it's a good feather in the cap, at least anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when we started with the company, like, custom skates were something that you had to kind of know a guy who knows a guy who could like come visit and fit the store. Like you had to know.
Get out the clipboard and just start ticking the
Yeah,
boxes of the things that you think you want. And
exactly.
yeah,
Custom skates were kind of something that, I don't know, they weren't really done, and then fast forward now 2021, let's face it, you and I work in the Toronto marketplace, which, it's a high end market.
yeah.
Hockey is very high on the priority list for a lot of people.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people who, do they need custom skates? No, not at all. But do they want the best fitting skate that
That's
was
right.
specifically for them and have the disposable income to do so? 100%, right? So we're gonna have some success there. And then the other side of that coin is people who, really legitimately have, like you said, a barrier to potential even participation. You've got one foot that's really significantly longer or shorter than the other. We can work with that. Different shapes, different injuries that have happened in the past. You've had a surgery, you've had whatever. We can work with whatever's going on. And it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So maybe the one thing I really did want to get to touch on, you guys got this great helmet, the TAC X.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a sticker shock because there aren't many $500 helmets out there, and it's a little imposing when you pick it up. It doesn't look
Yep.
like most helmets from the inside in particular.
Totally.
So maybe if I was to say someone's watching this and they just walked through our store and they're thinking about a new helmet, what types of things, what types of technologies, what's the process that goes into making a helmet that ends up being as good as it is, as protective as it is, and also, by byproduct, as expensive as it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at retail, we get this all the time, and Dana, you can probably attest to this. Is the question on the skate wall from a concerned parent is what helmet fit or what helmet protects the best,
Sure.
right? That concerned parent 101. That's the number one question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best helmet? And the very sort of obvious cliche answer to that is the helmet that fits the best is going to be the one that protects the
Sure.
best.
Yep.
And that's sort of the go-to sales, retail sales line that you're not going to get in trouble for saying it. You're not going to mislead anyone. It's the honest.
That's right. A great helmet is only a great helmet if it fits well.
Totally right. Totally right. Because if you're going to contact, you go down, you hit your head on the ice, whatever situation you're in where you need to make use of that helmet. A helmet that doesn't fit properly is going to move on your head. And then when you do make contact with the ice, another body, the board, whatever it is, if that helmet's out of place, it's not doing what it's designed to do, or at least not as efficiently as it could, right? Mm-hmm. What this helmet really allows us to do, and that's the key technology, is that carbon sort of mesh inside. Carbon is the company that we sort of license the technology from. That mesh inside that really allows that liner to take the shape of, virtually any head you can put it on, right? Mm-hmm. I think you and I have done the test in store where I've put a medium on my head and I've told you to squeeze
as much as you can. Yeah.
As hard as you just reef on that helmet. And at no point, as long as it's obviously the correct size shell, at no point is there, a pressure point or anything that kind of develops. It just gets snugger and snugger and snugger, but there's no pinch points. There's no pressure points, which, we know in a traditional helmet, can definitely happen,
Of course.
That helmet to fit as snugly as possible without generating any pinch points, without generating any pressure anywhere necessarily, is what allows that helmet to fit virtually perfectly. And then, we can sort of make our own deductions from, protection from there. Right?
Mm-hmm. So it's a 3D printed liner.
Yep,
it looks almost like a honeycomb type of a mesh on the inside.
Yep.
And so essentially you can't get the helmet entirely to compress on the inside. So essentially as something makes contact with you, or you make contact with something, the impact never really fully gets to you because it's allowed to sort of crumple if it's a bit of a crumple zone.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The lattice structure on the inside, if you look at it, there's more negative space than actual material, mm-hmm. which if you think about it is a little bit crazy, right? Like we're used to foam.
It seems counterintuitive.
it seems totally counterintuitive, right? That there's literally more negative, there's more nothing in that helmet than there is something. But to your point exactly, that lattice structure is totally designed to absorb an impact, use that negative space to its advantage, and then rebound again. It's a totally different concept than anything that's ever been done in a hockey helmet before.
I think really a lot of times what it comes down to is just understanding, what the product is and what it delivers and
Yep.
what you're looking for.
Yep.
The entire process of making and designing that helmet is sort of what sort of drives the cost of it. And that's where we end up. I think generally speaking, I think we kind of live in a world where people are comfortable spending on certain things. Helmets usually is one of them. So we don't have to worry about that as much. But this one, obviously, it's not everybody is going to buy this, and not everybody has to buy this. You don't have nobody out there has to be has to feel bad. There are plenty of good helmets and other great helmets that you guys do make.
And that said, if there's another helmet that is obviously less money, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the most expensive on the market, right? If there is another helmet that fits better, well, then everything we've just said totally goes out the window. And now that helmet, that other helmet, probably cheaper, that fits better.
The 910, the 710.
That's the one that's best for you.
So as we're now moving forward, kids are getting back out on the ice. Seasons are about to start. I know in the GTA, I believe November 1st-ish is when a lot of the competitive leagues and everything start. House League is already starting. So the one problem I'm running into right now is I don't have anything in stock right now. So
it's fun.
What's your experience been? Because I know it can't be easy. I'm sure everybody is calling you on a daily basis and trying to find out just exactly what's going on. How come I'm running out of elbow pads and you don't have any to sell me? I'm running out of pants. I need 15 pairs of navy blue junior medium pants for a team and I can't get them. So
they don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the experience been like with that as a bit of a struggle? And are we starting to see that clear itself up a little?
Well, the joke I sort of said a couple times to a couple different people is that my new word, whenever people ask me how work is going or what the situation is like right now, my new word is that it's a very dynamic situation.
Okay. Yeah. That constantly
changing, right? That anyone who can read between the lines, can see that it's a shit show. You can read between the lines a little bit, but realistically, I sound at least a little bit more educated saying it. So that's kind of my
yeah.
It's very dynamic. So basically the situation for us here in Southern Ontario was that, we were realistically the part of North America that had the longest sort of lockdown, whether it's hockey related or otherwise, right? So basically what happened is all the inventory that, and not just CCM, but all brands had brought in was sort of sold through into, the US and other Canadian markets that were still playing.
Yeah.
As a brand, CCM, I guess, was not going to put inventory aside for when, Ontario and I guess Quebec and BC and a lot of other places were sort of a little bit late to the party, but the brand was not going to put inventory aside for those jurisdictions to kind of, get their act together and get going again. So they sold where the stuff needed to be sold. And then by the time here we are in Southern Ontario trying to get our stuff and ship everything all at once, right the hell now, that all kind of happened all in the space of a week, right? And we knew it would happen. We knew it would be that way.
Yeah.
But so we sold through all that sort of inventory that we started the year with. And now, I mean, everyone's familiar with, the supply chain challenges and that's going on in the world. I heard a story, I don't know if it's true. I heard a story that Starbucks couldn't get espresso beans for some of their stores in the States, could
you imagine?
Starbucks.
Hopefully they can still get the pumpkin spice because I hear that's pretty popular.
I've never had it. My girlfriend's all over it. Like, I'm sure it's fantastic, but if Starbucks can't get espresso beans, where does CCM fall on the depth chart?
Where are we behind them?
Right. Like there's Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot, all these massive companies, Microsoft, whatever, Ford, and then there's Starbucks, and then to have a a Moneyball quote, when Billy Bean is talking about where the A's sort of fit on the
Yeah.
hierarchy of I guess rich teams and poor teams. There's the Yankees, there's the Indians, there's the Red Sox, there's everybody else. There's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us.
Yeah.
That's kind of where like we think of CCM as a really big company, and it's
In hockey they are, but in the world,
hockey for sure, 250 I think employees at head office, a bunch others in the field all over the world. Realistically a good sized company, but on the scale of global supply chain issues, we just don't measure up. So getting stock, just like a ton of other industries, has been a real challenge. And some consumers and some dealers are understanding and get it, and some don't. And
yeah,
it is.
well, it doesn't matter if they don't, because it's not going to realistically, it's not going to help the equipment get over here any faster. So,
well, that's exactly it. I can't go into my basement and start, sewing track jackets. I wish I could, but
yeah.
So,
yeah, the team business is an interesting one right now. I don't get into it a whole lot, but I know that's a particular struggle, because so much of that stuff is all made at the same time, and then it all has to arrive at the same time, and then you need special things done to them, because everyone needs their number on their warm-up pants and their turtlenecks.
And everything's a daisy chain, right? Like, so if one element of that chain comes undone, the whole chain gets interrupted, right?
That's right.
And then it all becomes sort of I guess a domino effect at that point, where it interrupts every other element of the daisy chain down the line. And before you know it, your minor bantam, double A team doesn't have track jackets until December.
Yeah.
And that's the end result, and the consumer doesn't see everything that happens, doesn't see everything that happens between them and, the raw material, where we're literally getting rolls of nylon, but if one element in that chain is interrupted, your minor bantam team doesn't have track.
Right. And all they know is they're not getting their jacket on time.
Yep. Exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It definitely makes it a little more difficult that way, especially when, like for me, Just Hockey is a big store, and again, like people come in because we've got the stuff. People come in because we have the inventory, and now they're coming in and it's like, why don't you guys have anything? It's like, well, there's a couple of reasons, and it's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for us. I know I said to someone, there was a particular, sizing in pants that we just had literally zero of.
Yeah.
And I even explained to my customer that if I had a dozen more in that size, I would have already sold those too.
You'd still have not.
You're not the first person who I had to tell this to, and obviously that doesn't help them, but
sure,
just from that standpoint, it does make everything, that much more difficult when that even if you had extra, you probably would have already been sold out of it again as well.
Totally.
So hopefully we get everything cleared up, and hopefully everything starts to move forward. I know as we get into sort of next year's launch product, which is coming right up actually pretty soon. So we'll be able to have a better forecasting. We'll be able to have, an easier sort of supply routes, hopefully, and then everything should run a little bit smoothly, and then we'll be right back on track.
Totally right. I mean, this is everyone's first time going through this.
That's right.
No one has any experience of how to forecast, how to navigate this. Like, if I had a crystal ball, I'd be Warren Buffett, right? Like, I wouldn't be
there. You go.
Equipment. I'd be trading stocks and stuff, right?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. So, no, it's difficult from even the standpoint of like, if I have to set a daily sales target, like what should it be? What should a daily sales target for, an afternoon or a full day in October during a pandemic be?
Nobody knows.
When people haven't bought equipment for 2 years and their season starts next week.
Yep.
So and those are the things. Well, 100%. Yeah. How many people am I going to need on a Sunday? It does. It adds some more. It adds some more dynamics, as you said, to it. But again, it's you just kind of you do the best you can. Hopefully you help as many folks out as you can, and then we all get back to hopefully a little bit more regular stream of things for next year. Michael, I want to thank you again for joining me today. I think this was excellent. Some great info there for anyone who's looking. We've got one already out and two new great sticks coming out. We've got a fantastic helmet that if you want to come in and see me, I can show you all how to fit it, how to wear it, what it does, how it works. Thanks again for joining me, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you in the store sometime.
100%. And I was just about to say I'm going to get my goal samples for the 2022 stuff this week. So I'll be in store, I think, probably in the next to show off some of the goodies. And I mean, without giving anything away, I've some of the guys in the company whose opinion I hold really, in high standing. They've said it's the best CCM goal gear that they've ever seen. So I haven't seen it yet, can't speak to it, but like I said, for a couple of guys that I've sort of had the opportunity to talk to about, they're really excited. And if they're excited, then I am.
I've heard some things, and we've had some little sneak peeks, and I think everything looks pretty good. So I can't wait to see it, and sure. We'll see you then.
Okay, sounds great, Dana. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Basically,
what happened for us, I mean, at least in Southern Ontario, is that, I mean, we were sort of the portion of North America that had the longest. Did I say Southern America? Did I say South America, or did I say Southern Ontario?
No, you said Southern Ontario.
Okay, good.
Start over.
I had a bit of a moment of panic there.
Start over for us in Southern Ontario.